Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Cheers podcast. I'm your host, Avery Woods, and today I thought it would be fun to do a little advice column. You guys always ask advice in my Q&As, and I figured we would just do an entire dedicated episode. I like this question in general, but the way that it's worded just makes it superior. How do I nicely tell my fiance to stop living in his friends' assholes? What's your biggest advice in gaining confidence in yourself? Do you follow your heart or your head? I'm having such a hard time deciding. That's a great question. Navigating your mid 20s friend group at a completely different stage of life. Working your ass off for a degree, then realizing you hate the job. Master's plus degree. So here's the thing. I am a registered nurse, but I am sitting on a podcast here right now. What do you do when it feels like life isn't on your side no matter what you do? I get this. Hi, welcome to Cheers. I'm your host, Avery Woods. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Cheers podcast. I'm your host, Avery Woods, and today I thought it would be fun to do a little advice column. You guys always ask advice in my Q&As, and I figured we would just do an entire dedicated episode. I also might look crazy and sound a bit tired. It is very late. We were actually going to record an episode tomorrow, but I got a call today from my team that I got invited to a really fun event with Unwell on Sunday, which means I have to fly out tomorrow at 1 p.m. because it's on the East Coast. And we were like, there's no way we'll be able to record and upload and get it edited and live for you guys Monday. And we like to be on a schedule. We like our episodes up on Monday for you guys because it just kind of screws everything up when we have to upload late and we don't want to do that to you guys. So we were recording super late at night. I just put the kids down and then I had leftover dinner that I made tonight. I had a second portion of it because it was so good, this pasta I made. So I just had a little late treat. I got some packing done because I was texting some of the girls going to the event and we were talking about what they're wearing. And so I was trying on outfits for about 2 hours to try to figure out what I'm wearing because, listen, this is my first Unwell event. Okay. I need to look the part. I'm actually going to an event with Unwell in February, which I'm so stoked about. And I have a stylist that will help me with big events like that. And so obviously we have quite a bit of time to plan for that. But this one, I got like 24 hours notice. And so I was just kind of shopping through my own closet trying to figure it out. So I have clothes covering every inch of my fucking floor upstairs. I don't even want to see it. I'm probably going to leave it until I come home. But yeah, I tell David all the time, I'm like, I think I really do need to hire more help in my life. I feel like in my mind, I'm always so poor because that's what I'm used to. And so, listen, I like to spend money. Okay. Everyone knows that. I like nice things, but I am such a perfectionist that I feel like when it comes to tasks and things like cleaning and organizing and editing my content, I'm so OCD that I have such a hard time giving that to someone else. But I was looking around my room today and I said, I think it's time. I think it's time to hire someone to help me because I feel like I'm drowning. And you know what? Sometimes peace of mind over money any day. I will give up some cash in order to feel a little bit more organized in my brain and my environment. Anyways, this is why in my head, I said, I'm going to do a rapid advice column because I don't know how to shut the fuck up. And this is an example of that. So let me open my phone and look at some of these things that you guys submitted, or else I will be talking your ear off for the next 45 minutes about things that you don't give a shit about. All right, let's get into it. I like this question in general, but the way that it's worded just makes it superior. How do I nicely tell my fiance to stop living in his friends' assholes? So, what I'm gathering from this is that your fiance is hanging out with his friends and prioritizing them over you, which is never fun. I feel like he decided to take the next step and propose to you. Obviously, you said fiance, so you're engaged. That is a commitment that he made to you. And if he's not able to prioritize you as his number one priority over his friends, engaged, he sure as hell won't do it when you're married and when you have kids. Because although life gets more beautiful as you hit each stage of life, each stage also becomes a bit more difficult in certain situations, right? Like you get married, you combine everything together. That's you have to adapt to that. And I'm not saying it's bad, but there are more stressors that come in life as you hit different phases. And another example is kids. You have more added stress and roles and responsibilities where you can't prioritize each other. So I feel like this is the time where it should be quite easy for him to prioritize you. And you just need to sit him down and tell him, hey, you proposed to me. We're starting a life together. You need to show me that I am your number one priority because you are mine. And that's fair. And that doesn't mean you can't see your friends. I think it's just you have to have a healthy schedule and boundary regarding that, and he should respect your opinion, quite frankly. I'm getting tons and tons of questions from nursing students about staying motivated in nursing school, how to get through nursing school, all those things. And this could also really apply to anyone in school right now. But obviously, I would say the most obvious thing to say is keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the goal, and that's obviously graduating. And I know every day feels so long and excruciating. I remember being in nursing school last semester and I was like, 200 days till I graduate. Are you kidding me? It felt like eternity, right? And I know you guys feel me on that because every single day you have new assignments, new things to study, new tests to take, clinicals, and then if you have a job on top of that, it's a lot of work. And although I think college can be difficult in general, nursing school is like a totally different beast because of the grading scale. It's not the same for everyone, but for myself, a 75% was an F. So the scale started at 76% was passing, and that was a C. And then an A was a 93% and higher. So if you got a 92%, a 91%, a 90%, that was like a mid-level B. And I remember that being really hard for me too, because I was such a perfectionist. And so it's hard. Like nursing school is a full-time job. I remember studying around the clock. I remember, and as far as advice goes, I will say, obviously, staying motivated, keep your eye on the prize. It's worth it. It's such a huge accomplishment to graduate nursing school. But in order to kind of help yourself, I feel like learning your preferred learning method is key. For me, it's visual. I am a visual learner through and through. I'm obsessed with color coding things. I would get every highlighter you could think of and I would color code my textbooks. I would write on color coded flashcards and I would take those flashcards everywhere I went. They were always in my purse. Whether I was sitting in the Starbucks drive-through line, I was reading my cards. If I was at the gym walking on the treadmill, I would always do 12, 3:30, and I would study my flashcards. And I remember because I was a visual learner, when I would take a test and read a question that I remember studying, I would be able to like kind of close my eyes and picture the color I was reading. That's why it's so important to know how you learn best because I'm not an auditory learner. It wouldn't help me to study using audio. It would only help me to study using visual. So don't waste your time studying with a method that doesn't help you because you're just going to waste your time. I will say I heard this advice before and it did work for me was find a study buddy or a study group in nursing school or college in general that has a different learning method than you have. So you're kind of forced to hear it in a different way or see it in a different way. And even though obviously I'm saying focus on your preferred method, sometimes there's certain things that don't click for you unless you see or hear it in a different way. So that can also help. And I had someone in nursing school I was always studying with, and we had different learning methods, and it helped a ton to have someone to like bounce stuff off of. So keep your eye on the prize, take it week by week. Make a schedule, have a notebook, organize things. I love being able to check things off like tasks so I would write what I had that week, whether it was tests or something to study for, or an assignment or a concept board. I loved being able to cross it off because it made me feel more accomplished. I'm like, okay, I'm one step further to my end goal. I'm trying to go through questions I'm getting multiple of, and the other one that's been asked a lot is what's your biggest advice in gaining confidence in yourself? This is something I feel like I'm asked a lot about, but I don't have a set answer other than give yourself time. I feel like everyone becomes confident in their own way on their own time, and it depends what makes them feel confident in order to get there. I would say for me personally, I was not always a very confident person. I was always very insecure of my body. I was insecure of my voice. I was just a very reserved person because I wasn't confident outwardly. And I would say what did it for me was one, finding a partner that boosts you up. That's huge. You don't want to surround yourself with people that make you feel less than or don't allow you to be your full self around them. And that was huge for me because I remember being so insecure in my body that I didn't want him to see me in certain ways or certain angles or the way I was sitting or naked or whatever the case may be. And he just made me feel so good about myself that I truly started to believe it about myself hearing it from him. And I'm not saying you need someone to make you feel that way. You just need to believe it in yourself. And I always say too, the confidence that people see, especially in public, when they're like, "How are you able to do that? How can you take a photo or make a TikTok or strut your shit, across the hallway?" I always tell myself, I will never see the majority of these people ever again. Unless I'm with my close people who I don't really care how I'm acting around them, I won't see those people again. And if they want to judge me, that's way more of a reflection on them than it is on me. And as far as the bedroom, I will say, you being confident in the bedroom when you're naked and you're most vulnerable, that is going to turn your partner on so much more. And I always think that in my head when I'm like, is this awkward? Is this weird? But then I'm looking at his face, I'm like, oh no, we're good. Like he's fine. So I think that, and then I also think for myself, having kids really boosted my confidence. And obviously, obviously, postpartum and your body changing, there was obviously times where I felt very insecure and just not myself. But seeing what my body was capable of, being able to grow, birth, nurse a child was really a beautiful thing. And I felt so much gratitude towards my body. And so that made me love it even more. I also think confidence just radiates happiness and livelihood. And I feel like life is too short to not be comfortable in your own skin. You get one life, you get one shot at this. Enjoy yourself, just have fun. And if you feel insecure and not confident because of the people surrounding you and saying things to you or making comments or looks towards you that makes you feel less than or not confident, you need better people around you because you deserve better than that. Do you follow your heart or your head? I'm having such a hard time deciding. That's a great question. So, I would say I mix both, but it also depends on the situation, right? If we're talking about business, I'm definitely going to follow my head. If it's regarding family or helping people that I care about, most likely my heart. But I think you need to make sure that you're making a decision that you are comfortable with and that's not putting you in a situation where someone's taking advantage of you. And I'll give you an example. This was advice that David's grandfather had given to him a long time ago, and that was when someone asks you for money, give it to them as a gift and not expecting them to pay you back. Don't give it to them as a loan because 9 times out of 10, you'll probably be disappointed in the end, and that will come between the relationship that's there. And so we've had that a lot of times where we have given family members or friends money because they're in need and we're able to do that and we're happy to do that, but we don't expect them to pay back in return. And I feel like that's kind of an example of both using our hearts and our heads because in our head, we know it's probably not likely to get that money back, but in our hearts, we know it's the right thing to do, if that makes sense. But, there's also situations where I see or I've seen, and I've also been in certain situations where when it comes to relationships, when I see a friend that is so infatuated and in love with their man and they treat them like shit or they constantly cheat on them and they're just forgiving them over and over and over again because they're following their heart because they love them so much, which that love is valid. That's a very valid thing. You have a history in a relationship, but in your head, you know it's probably going to happen again, and when shit starts not adding up in your head, you're like, oh, fuck, is this person cheating on me again? Or are they up to no good? But because you follow your heart, you're stuck back with that person. So I think it just depends on the situation. And it's also really hard when your heart overpowers your head. If you've been in love or been hurt like that, that exists where you are so confident in your heart because you love them so much that it overshadows your brain and you can't process and think through the situation logically. Navigating your mid 20s friend group at a completely different stage of life. So, meaning you have multiple friends in their 20s and you guys are all experiencing different stages of life. That's totally normal. I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but for a woman, especially, 20 to 30 is insane. Like, so much changes in that decade of time. It is hard to be a woman in your 20s, and I am so looking forward to turning 30 this year. I'm just saying. I I have never felt more myself and just ready to just be stable and established in life and kind of get out of that 20s phase. And don't get me wrong, 20s were amazing, they were beautiful, but if you think about it, in my 20s alone, I got married, I graduated nursing school, I became a stepmom to two, I had Ziggy, I had Stevie, I worked my first nursing job, went around a bit, continued my career as a nurse, blew up on social media, left nursing for social media, moved to Arizona. Like, it's crazy. I think about it and I'm like, I literally lived a lifetime just in my 20s. So it's so hard when you have a group of people around you and you're all experiencing different stages. Like, I have a single friend, I have friends that are married with kids, I have friends that are just married, friends with boyfriends, friends that are divorced. It's so hard, especially like when you guys are trying to plan hanging out. It's probably really difficult with schedules and things don't add up. And when you're all together, you might not be able to connect on the same things. Like, I remember giving birth to Ziggy really young. Even when I started dating David at 18 and I had two stepkids, like, I did not relate to my friends anymore. My friends are all 18, 19 years old. And like, what'd you do this weekend? I'm like, oh, I made mac and cheese for the girls and studied for nursing school, and all my friends were out partying. And that's okay. It's just different stages of life, but it was hard to navigate. And I remember feeling really lonely at that time. So I think, as for everyone, no matter what stage you're in, just check in on each other, see what the vibe is. If you're in a group, like, do a group text, hang out, see if you can figure out a day that works best for everyone, see what's easier for other people that are maybe struggling. My thing is just communication, and it's hard to understand what someone else is going through or what their situation is if you guys don't talk about it. So I feel like just have healthy communication and kind of work with everyone's schedule and learn to adapt a bit when someone else's life is shifting because although that might be difficult for you because you might not be able to get as much time with a certain friend, just think about what they're going through as well because they probably feel the same. They just aren't ready to talk about it yet. How do you stay motivated and go to the gym and be productive? I have shared that I feel like my relationship with fitness has recently changed. Well, not recently, in the last year. I really committed to Pilates, and that's solely because I finally found a workout that I actually enjoy. Listen, if I didn't like a workout, you are not gonna catch me dead doing that multiple times a week. There's no way. What's the point, you know? Exercise and fitness and moving your body should be an enjoyable thing. There's multiple ways to do it. There's no reason why you should be forcing yourself to exercise and be miserable doing it. Just find something that works for you. And it's 21 days, I believe, to create a habit. And so when I found Pilates, I was like, okay, I'm committing to 3 days a week. So I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then David and I were lifting together Tuesday, Thursday. That was kind of like our little gym day together when the kids were at school. And then I kind of hurt myself a little bit by lifting too much. And so I started going to Pilates more and more. And I realized that's really what I loved. Also, specifically for my body having 2 C-sections, Pilates has been incredible to help me build my abdominal strength and kind of help with my C-section shelf a little bit because the entire time your abs are activated. And also, I am a workaholic and I don't get off my phone. I'm constantly working or doing meetings or checking emails. And so Pilates is my 1 hour every day, Monday through Friday. My phone is put away. I get to focus on myself, move my body, relax a little bit. And I just feel so much better when I start my day that way. I also really look forward to the weekends, and I've never worked a standard job, right? I've never had like a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 because I started my career as a nurse. So I worked 3 12.5 hour shifts. So, and then every third weekend was my scheduled work weekend where I'd work Saturday, Sunday. So I've found joy in a routine, and that routine is getting my kids off to school, going to Pilates, getting some work done, picking them up. And then I love that on Saturday, Sunday, I don't go to Pilates. I'm home all day with the kids. We just spend time together. Obviously, I'll still do some content here and there, but not as much. And I won't film ads or do meetings or emails. So that routine really helps me. And I feel like routine helps motivate you in general because you'll start to find stuff that works for you and then you'll look forward to it. Like I love Fridays now. I I get why people in the corporate world, like, love Fridays because they have the weekends off, right? I love Fridays because I have my kids at school, I do my Pilates, I get the rest of the work done for the week, clean up the house, whatever the case may be, pick the kids up, and I'm like, I get the next 3 days or 2.5 days with my babies. And it's so nice. So I just feel like you have to A, find something that works for you, and B, get into a routine where you wake up every day looking forward to it and you know what the day looks like for you. Another thing too that I'll add is I do feel like it's much easier to get in routine when you work out earlier in the day because as the day goes on, you get more and more tired. No one wants to work out at 5 p.m. Okay. No one wants to do that. And you're not going to. Some people do. I don't know how. I'm just not like that. I'm so exhausted by the end of the day. You're not going to catch me dead in the gym. Okay. So, but that's again, that might not work for you. That might just work for me. And you might be a night owl. But find something you like, create a routine, stick to it for 21 days in order to create a habit. You're golden. Working your ass off for a degree, then realizing you hate the job. Master's plus degree. So here's the thing. I am a registered nurse, but I am sitting on a podcast here right now. So listen, you know what no one can take away from you, queen, is your education. No one can strip you of your degrees. There is so much more in a degree than just what you studied. It's so much more than a piece of paper. It's experience, it's knowledge, it's skills that you will take with you for the rest of your life. I love the knowledge I have from my nursing school degree and from my career that I worked in nursing. I love that I have that. I love that it shaped me into the person that I am today. I love that I'm able to help give people medical advice if they need it, or when my best friends will send me a picture of their kid's rash and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" I'm able to tell them and help them, you know? So I actually was talking on my Instagram stories the other day about how I paid off my student loans, and I was so grateful to that. Which, by the way, after we walk through this question, I want to speak on that because our government's fucking corrupt, okay? My mind was blown. But don't look at it as a waste. There's nothing wrong with studying something, getting a degree, and you work in the degree and you realize you don't like it because how do you know, right? You don't know until you try it. And although there's, volunteer programs and internships in college, it's not the same as when you're working it full time out of school, right? You're not going to truly know. And that's okay. That is so common for so many people. And again, there are so many jobs out there that you could try that you enjoy. And even though you might not have a degree for that job, you still have a master's degree, which shows hard work, dedication, and education. That is all that matters. So don't feel down about it. There's so many more opportunities out there, and no one can take away your education and your degrees. As far as student loans, I actually wrote this down that I wanted to talk about it, but then I forgot until you asked this question. So thank you for asking that question. I was bitching on my Instagram stories the other day about this. So if you already saw that, then please ignore this. But when COVID happened, Biden administration put a freeze on the interest gaining on student loans, which was a slay because obviously a lot of people lost their jobs. Student loans are so fucking expensive. And how are you supposed to make a student loan payment when you're not working, right? I was working full time as a nurse. I was not making any payments because it was frozen and I didn't want to. And I wasn't anywhere near the situation I'm at now, and I always told myself, like, when they start picking back up, I'm going to pay because I don't want the interest to absolutely wreck me. So that's what I did. As soon as they went back into effect, I set up automatic payments. I owed 55,700 and something dollars for my bachelor's degree, which by the way is nothing compared to what a lot of people pay, which is sickening to me. Like, I know someone that just sent her daughter to college and her freshman year of college was $94,000. So if you think about it, a 4-year degree is $400,000. Fucking insane. That is a house. You know, I'm starting to think maybe other countries are looking pretty good because TikToks might be gone. And then other countries, you just pay, yes, you pay a little more taxes. Okay, I get it. But you have free education and free healthcare. Those are like the two most expensive things for American people. Like for us, when we left our previous career and we lost our health insurance, our out-of-pocket health insurance for the six of us is insane. It's absolutely insane. And it's like you have to have it just in case, especially with the kids, fucking fall off their bike. And then I'm like, well, shit, you never know what's going to happen. But same with education because the interest rate is so insane. So, anyways, I was making a payment of like $740 a month, I think, 700 and something dollars a month. That was my minimum monthly payment. If I was a nurse and David was a cop and I didn't do social media, I wouldn't have even been able to pay the minimum. I would say we'd maybe be able to pinch out 300 a month, 400 a month, if that, with all of our overhead and stuff. So I'm like, holy shit, okay. So I'm paying 700 a month and David's looking at it because I went to go pay it off in full. I paid it off in full, which I was so grateful to be able to do. Because he looks and it says if I had paid the minimum monthly payment a month, I would be paying off student loans for the rest of my life. That is insane to me. I then think about if I was working as a nurse and not doing social media and not even being able to afford 700 a month and paying 3 to 400 a month, uh I would have my kids would have to pay off my student loans. I would die with student loans. That's crazy. That's so sad to me that so many young people wanna go get an education to better their lives, their families' lives, to break traditions in their family, maybe be the first to graduate college and get a degree. And then for the rest of their lives, they're working to pay off their student loans. It's really sick to me. I had a sweet mom message me when I was talking about it, and she was like, "I just had my first baby, and I'm going back to work when my baby's 3 months old instead of being a stay-at-home mom just to pay off my student loans." It's like, what the fuck? So it is kind of nice though that our world is shifting a bit where I was personally raised like education, education, education. You have to be educated. You have to have a degree to be successful. I really don't think that's the case now. I think it depends on experience, work ethic, passion, creativity. The world is becoming so creative now with social media that I don't feel like you need a degree depending on what job you want to do. Obviously, if you're a neurosurgeon, please, for the love of God, go to medical school. But again, it's like, what is that? $500,000 in student loans? It's fucking crazy. How do I not panic over the littlest things? Someone gave me advice once, and it was actually regarding parenting, but I think it goes really well with this question, and that's ask yourself, is it really that big of a deal? And I loved my friend had told me that with parenting because I remember being like, you're so chill. You're such a chill mom. And certain things will make me anxious. And so I feel like when that happens, my kids, they're not punished, like they don't get in trouble, but because I don't want them doing certain things because of my anxiety, they're punished in the sense of they're not allowed to do it then? So in the last like year or so, I just asked myself, is it really that big of a deal? Usually the answer is no. So I feel like that really helps in life in general. Kind of ask yourself, is it really that big of a deal? For example, the TikTok ban. Everyone's asked me about the TikTok ban. I have to ask myself, am I going to be okay? Is my family going to be okay? Are we going to have a roof over our head? Are we still going to have an income? Are we able to save money and put money in our kids' college account still? If the answer is yes, it doesn't matter. It's out of your control. I always I always think about that too. It's like, can I really do something to change this situation or is it completely out of my control? If there's nothing I can do to change someone's mind or change a situation, I cannot dwell about it because it's just adding to my stress. I'm trying to get into content creation, but I feel so cringe whenever I record. Help. It's like that for everyone. I promise you, everyone is so cringe, and the only thing that's gonna break that cycle is being in front of the camera more. You've just gotta keep practicing until you find a groove that works for you. I look back at videos from a couple years ago, and I want to throw up in my mouth, honestly. Seeing myself do certain things or the way I talked or change my voice, I was like, "Who the fuck is that trying to be someone that she ain't?" Embarrassing. That's normal. You can look back at any content creator's content from back when they first started, and it's polar opposite. It's totally different because it is very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to record yourself and edit yourself. It's a weird thing. It's not natural, but you just have to keep up with it because I promise you will become way more natural with time. Full-time mom with an almost 9-week-old baby. How do I sleep train? Taking care of babies. Get that program. I'm telling you. And if you can't afford it, Google it because the advice is everywhere. It's all the same for taking care of babies. She is amazing. I slept trained. Is that right? I slept trained both babies with taking care of babies and it worked incredibly. Remember, I was a full-time nurse when Ziggy was a newborn. I was actually a full-time night shift nurse, so it was extremely important for me to be able to sleep train the babies or else I would probably not be alive. I don't even know how I would survive, especially with breastfeeding and stuff. So taking care of babies is incredible. She's amazing. I'm pretty positive she's a previous NICU nurse that wrote a sleep training course and like blew up over it. So worth it. And I think she has YouTube videos as well with some advice. Advice for a spicy honeymoon. Oh my God, I love that. Sexy lingerie. You need some crazy outfits. I need you to walk out into that room where he's laying on that bed and his eyes pop out of his head, okay? The other thing too is they have like a lot of really cute little sex board games now, or like some with dice and card games where you're kind of like forced to try new positions and have fun and ask each other spicy questions. I feel like that's really cute. Maybe try edible stuff. I'm pretty sure there's like flavored lube, or isn't it like is it chocolate? And I'm trying to ask Scott. Scott knows more about that stuff than I do. But, you can get some cute shit. A lot of you guys are asking how to genuinely get into content creation, like kind of getting the ball rolling and starting. The number one thing of advice I could say to you is just consistency. You have to be consistent. And I know it's hard in the beginning. Like, I remember I posted my first TikTok, and that was during the first surge of the pandemic in like 2019 or 2020. 2020. I can't remember. But it immediately got like 100,000 views when I had no followers, because that's how easy TikTok was building. And then I would post like 3 months later. That's not going to do anything for yourself. I should have started posting consistently, but I didn't know. And I also was working full time, so I was exhausted. So I would say just be consistent with it, because even if you don't feel like it's getting anywhere, it will one day. You have to think about me as an example. I started sharing my life on Instagram at 19 years old. I just I signed with my management team 2 years ago, and I'm 29. So for 8 years, I was posting for nothing, basically. Like, I wasn't making any money, right? And obviously, like I've talked about with you guys before, I became contracted with Cherokee Scrubs, and my first contract was $500 a month, which was a huge deal for me. That like really changed our lives at the time. And it starts slowly, but it will eventually pick up. And it might have taken me 8 years to get where I'm at today, but it's so worth it, and I'm so glad that I never gave up and didn't stop. What do you do when it feels like life isn't on your side no matter what you do? I get this. I feel like this was what was happening when I was pregnant with Ziggy and a little bit before, because I remember when I finally got into nursing school, and then just a few months later, David had to move to San Diego to take care of his grandfather full time on hospice. And I obviously was stuck in Arizona in nursing school. And so I lost my husband, my number one support during one of the most difficult times of my life, which was nursing school. And then after his grandfather died, we went through a lot of really bad turmoil with his family. They got really money hungry, and it was just a whole complicated situation. I remember being served on Christmas Eve from a lawyer trying to get money from David's grandfather's will. And it was just such a mess. And we were grieving and so stressed because we had no fucking money, because David obviously left his career to take care of his grandfather on hospice. And then I failed my NCLEX, and I failed my NCLEX again. And I was like, what the fuck? I just finished nursing school. I've been counting on this for 2 years to contribute to my family so we're not broke as fuck. And I can't pass the goddamn state boards. But then I eventually passed and I got a job, and we had Ziggy, and we moved, and then, more things happened with his family, and then that's the last time we talked to his parents, which was when Ziggy was 10 months old. So it was just a lot all at once, but we're here today. And oh, also, I forgot to add, before Ziggy was born, we also went through a full custodial battle with the girls. So we were also in court for months trying to figure out the custody battle, because we were living in two different states at the time. So it was just a lot. And we also had no money to support anything. Any amount of money that we made or we had in our savings account was to pay a lawyer. I ended up selling my car. So we only had one vehicle at the time, and we were like sharing it, going to different job interviews, and me trying to take the boards and all these things. So it was just a lot, but I will say you just need a good support system around you, because I wouldn't have survived without David and my parents. And although sometimes it feels like you're just constantly getting up and hitting a wall again and getting up again and hitting a wall again and just constantly being knocked down, there will be a time where you will get a break. And in the midst of it all, still take time for yourself and don't get to the point where you give up because it's only going to make it worse. You just have to push through because the universe eventually works out and you will dig yourself out of whatever hole you keep getting knocked into. And use me as an example because I've been there and it's so hard. But have a good support system, keep getting up, don't give up, and ask yourself, is there anything I can do to make the situation better or get out of the situation I'm in right now? Lots of mom questions, which I love. I had a few people ask advice for first time moms. And first time mom life is so magical, but also so overwhelming just because there's no amount of preparation that anyone can tell you or give to you that will really make you understand what it's like to be a mother. And I don't say that in a way to scare you. I mean it in the sense of not just the hard work that comes with being a parent and raising a child, it's just the hormonal changes as well as a woman can be really hard to deal with. And obviously, some people get it worse than others, but it's not really a feeling you can describe to people. And I remember feeling that with Ziggy. Obviously, I had the girls, but he was my first baby that I birthed. And I remember I never really struggled with mental health issues, but I remember people would tell me about baby blues or postpartum depression. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. And I remember sitting in the recliner and feeling just like I couldn't stop crying, like every day. The sun would start to set, and I was so stressed out about nighttime with him because I was so exhausted. And I knew he's gonna be all up all night breastfeeding. And I would just sob and sob. And then I remember one day I was like, holy shit, that's postpartum blues. Like that's what people are talking about. So, what I'll say is, aside from the difficulties that come with it, everything is outshined by the joy and the love. It is the most incredible thing when you become a mom because your heart truly does double in size. Like you look at this baby and you're like, I could never love anything more than this. It's the greatest thing in the world and all they want is you. They just want to be with their mom and it's just so special. So I'll just say enjoy every single second. It goes by so fucking fast. I know everyone says that, but what I would give to go back and cuddle my newborns one more time. It's just so magical. And even though it's hard and it's stressful, you'll never get that time back. Like I saw a video and it was talking about how difficult night feeds are and staying up all night and getting up every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the case may be, and changing diapers and breastfeeding at god awful times, right? And pumping. That's the only time that it's just you and your baby. Like that's your quiet time at night, right? Like that's such a huge bonding moment. And I remember even when I was so tired, I just loved that. I love when it was just my little babies and me. So I would say too, just really prepare your partner to help support you because even though it's a teeny tiny little baby and there's two adults, you both are going to be very involved and you're both really needed, especially at night. Taking shifts when Stevie was born, I remember we figured out a really great routine, and that was obviously she was exclusively breastfed until I would say about 6 weeks. I started introducing bottles, but so I was pumping while also breastfeeding. So I was storing up milk for when I went back to work when I was working at the hospital. And I remember we would put Ziggy down for bed at like 6 and I would feed Stevie and then I would shower and go to sleep. And David would hang out with Stevie on the couch downstairs. He would like watch a movie or watch golf, whatever. And then feed her a bottle at like 11, put her down next to me in the bassinet, and then she would wake up at like 2 or 3 to feed. So I was able to sleep from like 6:30 to like 3 a.m. just from that one bottle. So I'd only have to wake up at 3-ish. Obviously, every night's different depending on if the baby's gassy or teething, whatever the case may be. And I would nurse her at 3, change her diaper, reswaddle her, put her back to bed, and then she'd be up at like 6:37. And so I was technically only up with her one time that whole night. So figuring out a routine that works best for you guys, whether it's you napping during the day or at night, that is key because sleep is also a huge reflection from of your mental health. Like if you are sleep deprived, you're going to struggle even more hormonally and emotionally. So just planning that out with your partner and making sure that you feel supported in it. My boyfriend of 2 years cheated on me. I'm riding an emotional roller coaster. Help me. First of all, I'm so sorry. You do not deserve that. Cheaters are disgusting. I do just don't understand. I always think in my head, just break up with him. And I know that's awful, but I just think in my head, like, why did you need to do that, right? Why are you trying to fill a void in what could be a happy relationship? And if you're truly unhappy, why are you stepping outside your relationship instead of just going to the source and talking through why you're not happy? As far as recovering from it, you need to focus on you. You need to prioritize yourself. You need to do things that you haven't been able to do for yourself in the last 2 years. You need to create space because I don't know if you're taking him back or not, but I'm sure he's probably going to try to come back to you. So you need to set boundaries, block, and start moving on. Because here's the thing, like I was talking about earlier in the episode, if you start getting sucked back into that hole where you're thinking with your heart and not your head, it's going to happen again. And it sounds like he's not ready to commit, which means you dodged a bullet. You can find so much better. I promise your heart will heal and it might not feel like it now, but there will be someone that is going to treat you like the queen that you are and give you what you deserve, which is loyalty and respect. And obviously, your ex did not show that to you, and that's not okay. You deserve more than that. So, I would say take time to grieve, cry, be emotional, fucking scream in your pillow, rip up his photos, have a bonfire of his shit, egg his house, do whatever the fuck you need to do. You deserve to do that. But also, in between that, go out with your girlfriends, go fucking party at the club, like have a good time, have wine nights indoors, go get a pedicure, get a facial, get a massage, like treat yourself and learn to love yourself for who you are because him cheating is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of him. Does not mean you're not good enough, does not mean you're not hot enough, does not mean you're bad in bed, does not mean all these things that women think about when their significant other cheats on them. It shows way more about him than it does about you. So focus on loving yourself. You're going to move on. You're going to become even more confident of a woman out of this, which means you're going to find an even better man to take care of you in the future. All right, you guys, that wraps up our little advice column. I hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun. I am so fucking tired though. I need to pack because we have our flight tomorrow and I'm so excited to hang out with my unwell fam. We're going to try to vlog some on YouTube, so make sure you follow my personal YouTube account. It's the same as my Instagram. It's just at Avery Woods with 2 Y's. Also follow me on Instagram in case you aren't because apparently TikTok is probably going blackout tomorrow, so that's really interesting. Anyways, at least we have the podcast. Thank God for you guys, because I don't know what we'd be doing. All right, love you guys so much. Cheers.